Good morning, viewers. Welcome to Frankly Speaking with Vibhuti Jha. If a Martian were to appear on the planet Earth today, he would say there is a global health emergency announced by the World Health Organization, which is called coronavirus. If he were to see around, he will find that the world is in turmoil. The world's the strongest democracy. Its president is going through an impeachment process in a remarkably partisan trial taking place right now. If you were to look at the world's largest democracy, India, he would wonder, what's going on over there? The Prime Minister won a massive mandate only a few months ago, and right now the country is going through riots and opposition for a variety of reasons which sometimes seem quite bizarre. If you were to look at England, it just made Brexit happen from the European Union. What will be the fate of European Union if England, UK is not in it? So there are a lot of conflict points. You have Middle East, which is perpetually in crisis. So you are looking at a situation 2020 with a 2020 hindsight. What exactly is going on? We will begin today, however, with the most important event or incident or tragedy, which is called coronavirus. It is so remarkably silly and minor in the sense, I'm using the word minor in the sense that it is everywhere. The symptoms of coronavirus is cold, cough, it starts from the lungs all over the place. If you have cold, cough, wheezing, you need to check it out. Many airlines have stopped flying to China, one of the largest economic power in the world. If the tourism, business travels to China stop, you realize that today Friday, the stock market fell by 543 points because of uncertainty that Delta Airlines, United, American Airlines have stopped their flights to China as a whole, what started in Wuhan province. India sent its Air India to evacuate the people from that province. And that's the kind of thing which is a serious implication around the world because it affects life. So to discuss all these matters today, I have great privilege in welcoming our very good old friend, Dr. Rakesh Sharma. Dr. Sharma ji, welcome to the program after a very long time.
Thank you. Thank you for the invitation.
Thank you. You're welcome here. So let us hear the doctor's perspective. If we were to share with our audience, what do people need to do? Because the symptoms are remarkably simple. That's what I said, it looks minor. But the impact is pretty serious because 10,000 people around the world have been diagnosed with this coronavirus. 213 have died. So the question is, it's not something which can be just wished away. It is more serious than SARS virus that hit the world several years ago. So your thoughts as a physician, what must people do? Because people travel to China is the second destination for everybody to go to China.
First of all, I just want to tell the viewers that coronavirus is nothing new. First time it was diagnosed in a bird was in 1930s and in humans in 1960s. So it has been affecting us for the last 60 years. So it's nothing new. Yes, every time it comes, it has a different strain. So CDC or WHO gives it a new name. So this time the coronavirus that we found, which originated in Wuhan district of China, is called novel coronavirus. It has been given a new name, NO coronavirus. So coronavirus has been affecting us for quite some time. In 2003, it came in the form of SARS and killed close to 800 people. It was also coronavirus, but different strain. Before that, it came into Middle Eastern area and killed about close to 1,000 people. And at that time, it was called Middle East respiratory syndrome. So this is nothing new. And for some reason, every time we get a new variety of coronavirus or new strain of coronavirus, it becomes a very big news. Just to let the viewers understand one thing, and maybe they will have less anxiety, we all get coronavirus in our lives. All of us have been affected with coronavirus one time or the other. In fact, 10 to 30% cases of common cold come from coronavirus, and a lot of them come from rhinovirus, which is a different kind of virus. So these are quite common viruses, and this one that we call novel or China coronavirus is something new that started only in December 2019. And so far, as you mentioned, 10,000 people have been affected, 8,000 in China. And to my understanding, more than 200 people have died. But just to compare it with something else, we all have heard of flu or influenza virus. Every year, millions of Americans get affected by influenza virus, and roughly between 20 to 80,000 Americans die every year from influenza virus. So if 200 people are dead from coronavirus compared to 80,000 Americans died last year from influenza virus, you can imagine how bad influenza virus is, but we do not panic. And the only difference, of course, is the coronavirus, most of the time when it comes, it only gives us upper respiratory infection, means in the throat and in the ears and sinuses. It doesn't go down below this area or the lungs. Once it goes to the lungs, it can cause pneumonia, and that's when people get into trouble. And looks like Chinese coronavirus or novel coronavirus has affected lungs much more frequently as compared to other coronaviruses that we get in USA all the time. And but this has been around for 60 years.
Wow. I mean, this is information and news to me that, coronavirus in one form or the other has been there, and the various strains of that. So does this virus evolve, or does it mutate?
It does.
Because that's what makes it more lethal. Because as the saying goes about this particular virus, they say is hard to spot, thus it is hard to stop. Now, this is the kind of thing people talk about. It is that it is so common. Like you said, the statistics of flu virus.
Influenza virus.
80,000 people died last year on flu.
Yeah.
And that's why the United States government talks so much about get your flu shot. It's a free shot. So if people have taken the flu shot, are they safe or it's not?
Yeah, coronavirus has nothing to do with influenza virus.
Okay.
We have vaccine against influenza virus or flu, but we do not have any vaccine against coronavirus. The reason being there has not been enough research into coronavirus. And as we all know, before you can create a vaccine against anything, millions of dollars had to be spent. And my estimate, looking at the way the drugs are developed, it roughly takes between $500 million to $1 billion to research and to make a new vaccine. So it's not going to be easy. Either WHO spends that kind of money or some pharmaceutical company. And if they cannot make $1 billion profit from the vaccine, I don't think private pharmaceutical companies are interested in making vaccine.
That is scary. At the same time, makes you wonder that if billions of dollars need to be spent to create the vaccine, the real challenge then is what do we do now if you are detected? What does the government plan to do? What must happen that people can take care of themselves?
Yes, there are certain preventive measures that one has to take. One of them is, of course, when you see someone who's sneezing or runny nose. As we know, these viruses mainly affect upper respiratory, throat, nose, and people have to be careful not to be very close to someone who has a runny nose or coughing, and use mask, wash your hands frequently or hands frequently. because this is transmitted mainly by touch or through cough. So those are the preventions. Unfortunately, there's no vaccine. And when people get mainly upper respiratory infections from coronavirus, then you need to treat it with over-the-counter medications. Only time someone will get into trouble is when it goes into the lungs, which is rare. But yes, once it gets into the lungs, that's when the problem starts. And the reason I guess the media is so much attentive is in influenza viruses, 0.1% people will die. And so far in this coronavirus that started from Wuhan, 5 to 10% people who were infected are dead. So that is more deadly in percentage-wise, but in number-wise, influenza virus is way up.
So there is a possibility then that if you are in a swimming pool or a gym and somebody has traveled from China and come there, you might just get that.
No, it won't. Not in the swimming pool. It has to be direct contact with a person who's infected.
Shaking hands or something like that?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Shaking hands, someone coughing on your face with the droplets of the flu coming out of their mouth, or someone who is infected with coronavirus cleans their nose, turns and touches the doorknob, and you come a minute later, you touch the same doorknob, and then you put your fingers on your mouth or nose, you can catch it.
Wow, which is scary in the sense that you don't walk around with wearing a gloves in your hand. But then, good luck to everybody. Be careful, as the travel ban or travel advisory services have already gone into effect. It will affect the economies. It will affect a lot of things. Let's see how it shapes up in the days to come.
Can I add two more things?
Please.
Number one, if you are traveling by air, or if you are in some area where you don't know people, hundreds of people around, put a mask on your face to cover your mouth and your nose. That's all you need to do, and you will be protected.
That's wonderful to know that you can put on the mask, but mask is not available. It's sold out. So in that situation, always carry a large handkerchief and put it around your mouth. I would guess so. So that would be another way to attend to this problem. Sometimes there was a Professor Malthus in a study of economics. Professor Malthus' theory was that whenever Earth's resources are stressed, nature will take its own course to reduce the burden on the Earth. I hope this is not one of them, because there was a reference in a couple of programs that I watched that not long ago, millions of people died because of a variety of viruses in Europe and many other countries. So stay careful, take care of yourself, and prevention is better than cure. In this particular case, there is no cure. So Doctor, in the next segment, we will switch on to a couple of other issues. This was very, very useful. At least I'm comforted now talking with you and getting to know about this, that this particular thing has been there for a very long time. It's like an abnormal psychology. We all have some element of abnormality in us. It depends on when do we let it go.
That's right.
So the question is that it has been there. Exercise caution, that is required to be done. They're very, very useful information. Thank you so much for sharing, and I hope you benefited from this. I did. So that's where we go. Now, what I wanted to go into the next segment would be, I wanted to talk about the US political situation right now. Elections is coming in the next 9 months. President Trump has been impeached by the House. The proceedings are going on in the Senate. It's a crucial time for him. We know that there is a whole lot of political play going on. The two things that stood out in this entire trial hearing, that the House did not give the accused any fair trial. And then the House is demanding Senate to have a fair trial, wanting a witness kind of thing. Now, what I want to do is that we will switch into this segment right after this short break. Stay tuned. Welcome back. As we ended the last segment with the story of impeachment in the United States, this is the second impeachment that I'm seeing. First was President Clinton when he went through for lying to or lying under oath. In this particular instance, there have been two articles: obstruction of Congress and abuse of power. There has no crime been attributed to, high crime and demeanor attributed to Mr. Trump. The more you watch, the more you feel that this is totally driven by a personal agenda. Whether you like Mr. Trump or not, it's a totally different matter. But remember one thing, this is the only economy that is experiencing a boom. And that boom is attributed to give Mr. Trump the credit that in every segment of the economy is doing well. So what is the Democratic plan in this part? To just kind of disable him, slap him with so much of slander that something sticks in the next election. And that's where you feel that there is something not okay on this planet, in this country that we live in. So when you hate cannot have a moral justification to it. Because when you drive an agenda, when Nancy Pelosi said, "I'm a Catholic, I don't hate people," that was quite a strange statement to make. She brought religion to play in it. Doctor, what do you think about that? What's going on?
I think this whole impeachment thing is continuation of the forces that do not like Donald Trump. As we all know, the day President Trump was elected president, from very next day, the demonstrations have been going on in one way or the other. And it's not just the public that didn't vote for him, but the entire Democratic Party has been against him from day one. To me, it seems a threefold issue. First one is most of the politicians in Democratic Party are really mad that someone who is not a politician came from nowhere and is running the country. So that has been a big factor in hating Trump. And number two, President Trump has not been very nice to them verbally or in public places, and they are not used to this kind of behavior by a president. So they are mad at him. And number three, the policies that Democrats have are totally different from President Trump's policies. So they have been trying from day one to go after the president to see if they can find anything by which he can be brought down. And we know that first was Russian collusion, which didn't go anywhere. And now comes obstruction of justice and Ukraine issue. They also know that this is a very trivial, small thing. Most of the time, politicians do that and nobody cares, but they want to make it a big point or making mountain out of the mole. And they have been hoping that something will work. But as the things have been unfolding, seems to me that President Trump is not going to be impeached. It will be stopped or he will be acquitted in Senate. And if that happens, Democrats will be losers.
And they will be losers primarily because, I have been paying attention to this because for me, as a political animal, knowing from the banking side, finance side, it's all connected. So what happens in politics affects your economic life, your social life, your dialogue and discussion, because there's a leadership team there. So one has to know, one has to be aware. Don't wish it away, because that's where the political agendas are set. And this is where I was thinking about it as I watched both CNN and Fox to get the contrary point of view, is that there is perhaps, Ukraine is a country which is listed in the World Bank order as one of the most corrupt countries in the world. And isn't it ironical that that country has become the fulcrum of attack on Trump? This is totally bizarre. The fact that Mrs. Hillary Clinton paid for the brochure or the documents that were, collected as opposition research.
That's right.
That's where the game gets very murky. And to credit of Mr. Trump, like him or hate him, he has fought on. And somewhere along the line, for once the Republican Party has stood up firm that while the entire Democratic Party, not one person voted against, two people voted against, Republicans have this time held firm, apart from Romney and one John Collins from Maine. The point of the matter remains is this good for the system? Because it is creating a very hateful divide between the two groups of people. And you watch the rhetoric and the statements, that's not good. And I heard some of the people are getting violent about it. I mean, to have so many film stars and others say that I have had dreams to bomb the White House. If you and I say this,
He will be in jail.
He will be in jail. That's the thing which I'm worried about, the words, the rhetoric that goes on. A president is a president. Presidents come and go, not more than 2 terms. But in his case, what has happened is he really upset the liberal apple cart.
Mr. Jha, you mentioned dossier that Hillary Clinton paid for and got dirt against President Trump. Yesterday, I was watching Senate impeachment trial proceedings. So Senator Byrd actually put a question to a Supreme Court justice who is supervising the whole process. And the question was, is it fair for Democratic Party or a presidential candidate Hillary Clinton to pay someone to find out the dirt on then presidential candidate Donald Trump? Is that fair? And Democratic Representative Jeffries came to answer that question, and his response was, well, anything which is paid for or bought is okay. So everybody was laughing that what kind of answer is that if you pay to get dirt on someone, that is legal.
That's a commercial transaction.
Yeah. So, and this is where Democratic Party has gone wrong. When they do something wrong, they have justification. When someone else does something wrong, then it's a big deal. This is exactly what has happened. I think public kind of has sensed this thing very well. And I was surprised when day before yesterday, I heard that in the last 3 years, President Trump has the highest public approval at this stage. So I'm very confident that after the trial, public will not change their mind against President Trump, and I think he's going to win easily the election.
No, it is very important because, remember one thing, the main plank of Democratic Party campaigns, if you see the presidential campaigns, from starting to waive the student loans, to give free medical, to do everything free, in a country that taught us there is no free lunch, becomes a very suspect motive. And Mr. Trump has done this without offering freebies.
Yep.
He's brought money back home from every other place, loosened regulations to spur the economic growth. And today what we see is phenomenal economic growth going on in the country, whereas the rest of the world is in a slowdown.
That's right.
That's where the credit goes to Mr. Trump. Be that as it may, this trial has exposed the Democratic Party in a remarkably sad way. Because in this country, we have a two-party system. And in this two-party system, if one party is so virulently against a person specific, I mean, so much so that soon after he was sworn in, the impeachment battle began. And one of the Congress ladies, Tlaib, said,
sure,
let's impeach.
Impeach from day one, yeah.
Let's impeach this MF, whatever foul language she used.
Sure.
That must stop. As aware people living here, we are impacted by these events. And therefore, we have, as a conscious citizens, we must ask the questions. Coming back to a couple of other issues, and that is the very important part is India. In India, Prime Minister Modi came with thumping majority in 2019 elections. And soon after the election, he did something absolutely incredible, which was never thought to have happened. It was Article 370, 35A, protecting, defending the cultural identity of two distinct districts or regions of Jammu, Kashmir and Ladakh and Jammu, bifurcating them. He took the wind out of the negative sail of many people. So there was a very, one of the programs that we did, I mentioned to you about Indira Gandhi's letter, who when she was Prime Minister in 81, she wrote to a Kashmiri Pandit woman here in New York that even I am finding it difficult to buy land and because I'm married to a non-Kashmiri. And as a result of which, she feigned helplessness because media had treated her, was treating her as a dictatorial person. Remember that. Mr. Modi undid that. Helplessness of Mrs. Gandhi, who was such a tough leader of her party and of the country at that point in time. The entire Kashmir entanglement has to be viewed as a master stroke by Mr. Modi. Then he managed to have Ram Mandir done. And these two intractable, unimaginable things were solved, resolved. If I were the Prime Minister, I would have probably taken a break. If I were Trump, I would have gone to play golf. The question is, Mr. Modi is a karma yogi, and then he began to attend to the plight of minorities in 3 countries, Afghanistan, Bangladesh, and Pakistan. That the media, the global media, began to treat him as the bigotry shows. Economists, New York Times, Washington Post, they all began to say he's violating human rights of Muslims. But it was only about 3 countries protecting the minorities. That is why the CAA Act came into place. How do you see the Muslim reaction in this part of the world where they have now taken as a battle royal that we will not let it happen, but the act is already in place? How do you relate to that?
I think there are, I would say, again, I would put 3 factors. What's happening all over the world or in media that wants to bring negative news or they want to go against India. And one of them is perhaps a big factor that we all know, negative news attracts viewers. If you say that India is doing great thing, no one pays attention after reading that one line. Mm-hmm. But if you write, oh my God, India is doing 5 wrong things, the readers will start reading, what are those 5 wrong things? So more negative news brings more readers, whether it's TV or newspaper. That's number one. Number two, to me, it also seems that media also plays more liberal role, which is taking side of wrong party, and that is Muslims or Islam. Every time something happens, except ISIS, media has been on the side of Muslims or Muslim countries. And third thing, of course, is that money issue. A lot of these media houses, whether it's New York Times, Economist, BBC, or certain newspaper, certain news channels, they got lots of advertisement from Muslim countries, Middle Eastern countries that have oil. And if you put 3 ads in Economist every month, and I put 0, of course they will be more attractive to you and your concerns. And that's what has been happening to all these magazines, newspapers, and news media, that they get lots of advertisement from Middle Eastern countries that are Islamic. So obviously they take the side of those countries, whether their point is right or wrong.
That's very true, because money talks.
Yep.
As the famous statement goes, money talks. But what is interesting is, and that is that a former student leader of Aligarh Muslim University, his name is Faizul Hassan, he said, we have been victims since 1947 till 2020. We are not going to take it now. If we wanted to break India, we would have broken India many times. And that sets a thought process. And that is an important thought process. So like in a family, nobody can be unhappy and the family cannot prosper. But you have to address this situation that why are they angry with BJP? Because Mr. Modi has not talked anything against Islam. He has always said, Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas, Sabka Vishwas.
Yep.
He has never said anything disparaging to Muslims at all, as a matter of fact. He has actually said Constitution is my book of religion, right? So the question arises that all these years, it was Congress party that was having a policy of appeasement, pandering, and helping in a manner for only vote bank politics. And as a result of which, they should be actually angry with the Congress party, not with BJP. Because BJP is trying to include them into the entire development process. But the media plays, and that's where I get angry, that somewhere along the line, Indians, and I specifically talk about Hindus in this particular instance, without casting any aspersion on Muslims or anybody else, India has been home to every persecuted religion in the world that has come to India and survived and thrived. So for India to be taken to task for ignoring the Muslim will, Muslim votes, that speaks the part that we have to play, is that we cannot allow India to become a happy hunting ground for anybody, anything to take advantage of. And that's where it is very critical for India to reframe its narrative. Because the narrative of Muslims was written by historians, Ramila Thapar and Irfan Habib, who were the ones who created that everything Akbar Road, Aurangzeb Road, everything was eulogized. Everything Islamic was eulogized. Think about it like this. How does it make sense that you destroy a religious place of Hindus, build your own, and then you say you can't destroy mine because it's unfair to do so? Let's talk about this matter and the social milieu that is going on in India in the next segment.
Sure.
Stay tuned. We'll be back. Welcome back. Talking about this sensitive issue of Islam, Muslims, Hindus, Christianity, and what have you, religion has been playing havoc in the lives of people in terms of inter-religious relationships. Everybody's happy as a Hindu, everybody's happy as a Christian, everybody's happy as an Islam. But when it comes to doing something, there is a definite chasm between the three institutions, including Jews for that matter. But my point is very intriguing to me, and this is more of an inquiry and a conversation with a thought for you to think about it. How is it that a country like India, the whole world is blaming India for bringing a Hindu India, and that is an important question. We have so many Christian nations. Absolutely, there are so many Muslim countries, but there is no Hindu country in the world around. But there are 80% of the people in India are Hindus. So if there is an attack that India is abandoning its principle of secularism, that itself is wrong. Because Hinduism is a remarkably secular belief anyway. You could be Brahma Kumari, Brahma Samaj, Arya Samaj, worship Ganesh Ji, Kali, Vishnu, Durga, and we all assemble in the same temple. And if I offer my prayers to Ganesh Ji and come out of the temple, Lord Venkateshwara doesn't come to kill me. That's the beauty of our faith. It's naturally secular. So Sharma ji, what I want to hear from you is that most of the migration of Muslim populations from Islamic countries happens to the West.
That's right.
You don't find Iraqis going to Saudi Arabia, find a better job and better location, nor do you find Saudi Arabians going to Dubai. Yeah, there may be something, Dubai is special. But migration happens to non-Islamic countries. And when they come to non-Islamic countries, then they want their Sharia, then they want their halal. And that's what creates a divide. Because Islam is, in my opinion, is not evolving. It's not embracing others. Because that word kafir, which comes from Sharia, is the root cause of problem. Because if you are not a believer in Islam, you are a kafir and you need to be killed.
Yep. I think there are 2-3 reasons. I'm relating this whole conversation to what's happening in India, or why there are so many demonstrations against CAA and NRC.
And NRC, by the way, has not been brought in.
Yes.
It's not even in conversation right now.
That's right. So CAA, but both the things have been kind of connected in people's minds. What's happening is there has been accusation against Modi or Prime Minister Modi that he's trying to change India into a Hindu nation. I'm not sure if he's trying or not, but I have kind of very funny answer to these people who are accusing him. If there can be 50 Muslim countries in the world, and Muslims are so proud of it, that there are 50 Muslim countries, which of course is true because Pew Research Center has said it, that 50 countries are Islamic or Muslim countries. And there is another site is called worldatlas.com. They put 45 countries as Islamic countries, but let's say 45 to 50 countries. And Muslims are so proud of it. So what is wrong if one nation out of almost 200 countries becomes a Hindu country or Hindu nation? Because Hinduism started from India. And if there is an accusation against Prime Minister Modi, let it be. I don't think there's any shame. People should be proud that there is going to be one Hindu country, although I kind of doubt it because almost 20% people in India are not Hindus. So you really cannot call it Hindu country where 20% people are not Hindus. And number two, if you go back and look at the statistics, in 1950, when we had our first census, population census, Muslims were only 8%. And in today's date, they are 16 to 17%. So I don't know why Muslims are so upset. Their percentage has doubled in the last 70 years. They should not be complaining. They should be happy that they are doubled. So it is not becoming a Hindu nation. And this accusation seems to be far-fetched and kind of an excuse to have some kind of demonstration, whether it's Shaheen Bagh or some other parts of India where these people have been demonstrating. I think they're just upset that Prime Minister Modi has been able to take out Article 370 and 35A, as you mentioned, and brought this triple talaq issue, and also change the Babri Masjid problem without any bloodshed. So these people are very upset that PM Modi has been getting one win after the other. So this became a point where they want to, show their anger. I don't think they will get anywhere because CAA does not mean that Muslims who are born in India or have been living in India will not be given citizenship. They are citizens of India.
As it is.
Only thing CAA is saying is, as you mentioned, Hindus who have been prosecuted.
Hindus, Sikhs, Christians, Buddhists, everybody
who has been living in 3 countries, Pakistan, Afghanistan, Bangladesh, and they have been treated unfairly. If they want to come to India, and they came before 2014, they will be given citizenship. So I don't know what the cry is all about.
No, the cry is about what you said, is now they are, because Mr. Modi and Mr. Amit Shah, the BJP government, has been leading the path of reform in a remarkably astute way, attending to the legal aspects of it, so much so that, just imagine, in Kashmir now, Pakistan has no locus standi anymore. Earlier, Pakistan was a necessary evil. So Kashmiris are benefiting, India is benefiting, Pakistan has lost out. So the question here is, have the Muslims in India are overreacting? Are they showing their true fangs, the true feelings? That things can be good only if we get what we want, but we will not give you anything? That is a question that has emerged. Think about it like this. It was during Congress party regime. I did not know this, but when you do research and do findings, that Congress government gave lots and lots of Pakistani Muslim men shelter and citizenship in Kerala. Now, when you put 2 and 2 together, then you realize that why Pakistani type flags are flying in Kerala, and why Rahul Gandhi went to Wayanad. Think about it. It is, politics is a strange game. So on 30th of January, Gandhiji's Punya Tithi was observed. And Rahul Gandhi made the statement, Modi is following Godse policy, but he's not talking about it. But the tragedy is that Rahul Gandhi is a fake inheritor of Gandhi's name.
That's right.
I mean, nobody has done more harm to Gandhi than the Gandhi Family Limited Partnership. That's the point which people have to recognize, and media has to talk about it. Somewhere along the line, we have totally been sold out on that. That brings me to another aspect. Economist, New York Times, Washington Post, they have been so virulent in their attack on India and Prime Minister Modi. And that narrative has to change from us, because I don't expect Indians will write or respond to that. But we have to respond, because if they are talking about human rights issue today, influenza virus doesn't have any religion written on it, nor does this coronavirus has any religion written on it. But then we are all fighting that together. That's the important point, to do that. And I would say something very important here is, there was a move that the European Union will pass a resolution against India and CAA. You know what? They pulled back. They are saying that we are going to talk with India trade and investments. Kashmir and CAA will be talked later. That's the importance of India, and we Indians need to cash on it and push that agenda. But एक बात बहुत ही important है, which is on the philosophical level. You see a lot of violence by the left-wingers here. They resort to violence, whether it is against conservatives, against somebody. You saw the violence in college campuses here. What is the reason? In this particular entire disagreement, freedom suffers, violence gets precedence, and human rights goes for a toss. Human rights gets asserted, human life goes for a toss. How do we address that situation?
I've been a student in India. I was in college, I was in medical school. When you are 20, 25 years old, good news is no news. No one is interested.
Right.
But if you want to say, let's have some kind of demonstration, hundreds of students will come with you. 2-3 student leaders can be bought easily by political parties. And the reason being, if you look back, most of the politicians in India have been student leaders in their student lives. Whether it's Mr. Jaitley, sorry to say he expired last year. He was Delhi University's student president, very intelligent guy. Whether you see leaders in Bihar, they were also, I think Nitin Kumar was a student leader. So student leaders.
Nitish Kumar.
Nitish Kumar.
Yeah.
Most of the student leaders want fame, and how do they get it? Demonstration, doing wrong things, and being adopted by some major party. So whether it's Jamia Millia or AMU, all the student leaders in those universities have same agenda, to create a problem so that tomorrow they can join Congress. The other issue here is, when you mention Economist and New York Times, although we have been debating in English or talking in English, it reminds me of a song. कुछ तो लोग कहेंगे, लोगों का काम है कहना, छोड़ो बेकार की बातों में कहीं बीत न जाए रहना. These newspapers sell when they also publish negative news, something that can attract the readers. Economist doesn't give a damn what Modi does in India, to be very frank. They just want to sell their magazine, and if they say Modi is doing great, I don't think too many people will read it. When they say Modi is killing 2 birds and 3 dogs, suddenly millions of copies are sold. And New York Times, as far as I know, has never written anything good about India. Not a single article. I have been in this country for 40 years. I used to subscribe to New York Times. About 15 years ago, I stopped subscribing to New York Times because they do not write anything good about India. But all the negative news or fake news you can find in New York Times. Same thing, since we are on this topic, I will also tell the viewers, if you watch CNN, please be careful with Fareed Zakaria. You will never see Fareed Zakaria saying any good thing about India, but at the same time, he will say He will tell you Narendra Modi, but he will address Imran Khan as Prime Minister Imran Khan. He won't say anything wrong about Pakistan, but he does not have a single good word to say about India. I watched his interview at Davos last week, where he was bashing, he was asked about a simple question about globalization. And he brought this minority issue. Oh my God, in India this is happening, minorities are being challenged. Since he's a minority from India, he brought this Muslim agenda into Global Economic Forum, which has nothing to do with minorities. But those are the kind of people who write for New York Times, CNN, Economist. So please be aware of people like Fareed Zakaria.
No, you are, you singled him out on this matter, but that is a kind of a trend that we see in media. India is attacked all the time. Now think about it. Same World Economic Forum that happened. Mighty guy like George Soros designated $1 billion fund to fight Narendra Modi's nationalism. But he didn't spend a penny to fight against the scourge of terrorism. That's the thing which Indians have to become careful about. So when George Soros, he's a big man, he's a strong man, he can spend billions of dollars, designates $1 billion to fight India or set right India in his definition or his way of thinking, is that abuse of freedom or is it a criminal intent to try to dislodge a popularly elected government, a man who has been recognized by the world authorities, the man who is making a change in India, a definitive change. And because that change you don't like, is that freedom or is it abuse of freedom? These are questions that we have to attend to and we have to be aware to fight. We cannot allow India to become a happy hunting ground for anybody or anything to say. So my question to George Soros is, if anybody is watching and if you know him, please ask him, how many pennies did you spend to fight against terror? Let's talk about that. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being with me here today. Thank you, Dr. Sharma, for coming today. And as I always say,
the invitation.
Every conversation has to come to an end. Aaj ki mulaqat bas itni. We will see you next week.